Hi, I'm OWI attorney Sam Moore, and this is the last video in our series on impaired boating. Today we'll talk about the last test in the seated battery, the hand coordination test. It's adapted from the walk and turn test performed in DWI investigations and requires the subject to perform 4 tasks with the hands. The standard instructions for the hand coordination test are given as follows. Make fists with both hands. Place your left fist at the center of your chest and your right fist at the end of your left fist, like this. Remain in this position while I explain the test. Do you understand? You will then wait for your response. When I say begin, you must perform 4 tasks. First task is to count out loud from 1 to 4 while you move your fists in a step-like fashion, making contact between your fists at each step, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. The second task is to memorize the position of your fists after you have counted to 4. Clap your hands 3 times and return your fists to the memorized position, like this. The third task is to move your fists in a step-like fashion in reverse order, counting out loud from 5 to 8 and returning your left fist to your chest, like this. 5, 6, 7, 8. The fourth task is to open your hands with palms down and place them in your lap, like this. Do you understand? We will wait for your response and then tell you to begin. This test requires monitoring 2 sets of clues: compliance with the instruction stage and hand coordination accuracy in the performance stage. Here's a list of the validated clues of impairment that he will be looking for. In the instruction stage, there are 2 clues. The first is being unable to follow instructions, meaning that the test had to be explained to the subject more than twice, or if the subject did not remain in the instructional position. This clue can also be checked if the subject puts the wrong fist against the chest. The second clue is starting at the wrong time, meaning that the subject began the test before being told to begin, either by starting on his own or by following along with the officer's demonstration. In the performance stage, there are 13 clues split between the 4 tasks. On the first task, forward steps, the first clue is improper count, which is where the subject counts anything other than 1, 2, 3, 4, while moving the fists out away from the chest 4 times in a step-like fashion. This includes when the subject does not count out loud, or counts too many or too few steps. The next clue is improper touch, meaning the subject drags the fists over one another while moving from one step to another, when the subject doesn't make end-to-end contact between the 2 fists, or when the subject accidentally makes top-to-bottom contact. The next clue is did not perform, where the subject either skips over or forgets to perform this task. The second task is hand clapping. The first clue here is improper count, where the subject does anything but clap 3 times. Note that the subject does not have to count out loud, but must clap 3 times. The next clue is improper touch, meaning that the subject makes any contact between the hands other than palm-to-palm contact. The next clue is improper return, meaning that the subject does not return the fists to the memorized position end-to-end with the right hand in front of the left hand. The most common mistake is returning the left fist in front of the right fist. The next clue is did not perform, where the subject once again skips over or forgets to perform the 3 hand claps. The third task, the return steps, also has a number of clues. First being, again, improper count, meaning that the subject counts anything other than 5, 6, 7, 8 while moving the fists in toward the chest 4 times in a step-like fashion. Once again, this includes when the subject either does not count out loud or counts too many or too few steps. Showing up again is improper touch, same as before. This is where the subject drags the fists over one another while moving from one step to another, when the subject does not make end-to-end contact between the 2 fists, or when the subject accidentally makes top-to-bottom contact between the 2 fists. The next clue is did not return left fist to chest, where the subject does not make contact to the chest with the left fist, or if the subject brings the right fist to the chest instead of the left. Briefly though, there is a note in the instructions that states that following an improper return on the hand clap, if the subject makes an adjustment to return the left hand to the chest along with a proper number of counted steps and proper touch, the clue will not be assessed. Finally, we have did not perform, where the subject once again either skips over or forgets to perform this task. The fourth and final task is making it to the end position. The clues here are improper position, which is where the subject opens the fists and places them anywhere other than on the lap. A noticeable attempt to complete this task must be observed. Example being, if the subject opens his hands, palms facing down, and then holds them out in front of him, or if he puts them down by his sides, or if he holds his hands out and says, "I forgot where to put them." Finally, to end things off, we have did not perform. This clue will be checked if the subject skips over or forgets to perform the task, or if the subject remains with his fist closed against the chest and makes no attempt to perform the final task, or if the subject takes his fist directly to his lap or his seat with no attempt to open the hands up with the palms facing down. Of the 15 total clues, the presence of a minimum of 3 is all that's needed to suggest that the individual being tested is impaired with a BAC of 0.08 or higher.
Say what?
Lastly, there are a few more notes in the instructions that are worth looking over. First being, if the subject totally refuses to perform the hand coordination test, the refusal will be noted. The officer will simply check all of the did not perform boxes, thus resulting in 4 clues being observed. During task 1 of the hand coordination test, while moving the fist in a step-like fashion out away from the chest, if the subject did not go out away from the chest as much as the officer demonstrated, no clue will be assessed. All the subject must do is place one fist in front of the other in a step-like fashion while counting out loud from 1 to 4. No specific distance from the chest is required. During tasks 1 and 3 on the hand coordination test, no clues will be assessed if the subject steps under or around the fist instead of over. And finally, as a general note to all of these tests, when a clue is observed in any test, it's only counted once, no matter how many times it was observed. The only exception is for those performance clues which require compliance during each attempt during the finger-to-nose test. That completes our explanation of the hand coordination test of the NASBLA seated battery of SFSTs, as well as our series on the seated battery. If you find yourself on the business end of an OWI investigation, hopefully you have a bit of a head start. Stay safe, and remember, arrested doesn't mean guilty.